Hello, viewers of Midnight Mysteries. I'm Raven Shadowmere, and today I'm going to share a story that will make you think twice before looking in a mirror at night. So, dear nighttime listeners, are you ready to dive into this reflected nightmare? Because once we begin, there's no turning back. The man in the mirror is waiting, and he doesn't like to be ignored. Remember, my dear explorers of the unknown, reality is often stranger than fiction, and shadows always hide more than they reveal. Until next time, and don't forget to check your mirrors before you sleep. After all, you never know who might be watching from the other side. Good night, if you can manage to sleep after this story. I never imagined that a simple challenge could change my life so drastically. My name is Michael Harris, and just 3 months ago, I was just another 22-year-old arriving in Willowbrook, a quiet little town in the heart of Oregon. I came here seeking a fresh start, fleeing the chaos of the big city and the ghosts of my past. Little did I know I would encounter much more real ghosts here. From the very first day, I sensed something was different in Willowbrook. The people always seemed tense, especially at night. Curtains were religiously drawn shut as soon as the sun went down, and few dared to venture out after dark. At first, I thought it was just the way small towns were, but soon I discovered there was more behind that behavior. It was one night at the local bar, the Rusty Reflection, that I first heard about the legend of the man in the mirror. The old bartender, Tom, told me the story while polishing a glass that was already spotless, his eyes never meeting mine. They say that if you stand in front of a mirror at 3 in the morning and say your name 3 times, you'll see him, Tom whispered, his voice raspy from years of cigarettes and cheap whiskey. The man in the mirror. He appears behind you, his eyes empty like black holes, sucking your soul. I laughed. Of course, it was just another silly town story, right? But Tom's gaze made me swallow hard. Don't mess with that, kid. A lot of people have gone missing around here over the years. But before we dive into the depths of this narrative, how about giving that powerful like? Come on, it doesn't cost anything. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell. And it always started with someone challenging the legend. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the story from my mind. The more I asked around, the more horrific details I uncovered. Some said the man in the mirror was a serial killer who had been executed decades ago, and his vengeful spirit remained trapped between worlds. Others swore he was an ancient entity, much older than the town itself. I should have let it go. I should have respected the locals' fear. But curiosity and skepticism proved stronger. I decided I would prove it was all nonsense. On the night of October 13th, I set everything up. I mounted a camera in my room, aimed at the large oval mirror hanging on the wall. I started a live stream for my followers on social media, determined to debunk the legend once and for all. When the digital clock on the nightstand struck 2:59, I felt a chill run down my spine. The room suddenly felt colder. I ignored the feeling and positioned myself in front of the mirror. "Hey everyone," I said to the camera, forcing a confident smile. "We're here to prove that the famous man in the mirror is just a fairy tale." The comments on the live stream exploded. Some called me an idiot, while others cheered me on. After all, you don't want to miss any of our nighttime enigmas, do you? When the clock turned to 3 hours, I took a deep breath and began. Michael Harris. My voice echoed in the silent room. Nothing happened. Michael Harris. A cold wind blew through the closed window, making the curtains flutter. I swallowed hard, but pressed on. Michael Hart. Before I could finish, the light flickered. For a second, I swore I saw something move in the reflection behind me. When I turned around, there was nothing there. "See? Nothing happened," I said to the camera, but my voice trembled slightly. Then I noticed the comments on the stream had stopped. The screen on my phone showed only static, and the digital clock, frozen at 3. A noise coming from the bathroom made me jump. Slowly, I walked over, my heart pounding in my chest. The door was ajar, a cold mist seeping through the crack. With trembling hands, I pushed the door open. The bathroom mirror was completely fogged up except for a message written with invisible fingers. "You called me, Michael. Have you ever wondered what really exists on the other side of the mirror? That reflective surface we use every day to get ready might hide secrets darker than we can imagine." I screamed and ran back to my room, but stopped abruptly. The large oval mirror now showed not my reflection, but a dark, endless hallway. And at the end of it, a shadowy figure was slowly approaching. The man in the mirror was real, and now he was coming for me. In the weeks that followed, my life became a waking nightmare. The shadowy figure followed me in every reflective surface, in the windows, in puddles after the rain, even on my phone screen. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. The constant fear was consuming me. Desperate for answers, I began researching the town's history. That's when I uncovered the shocking truth behind the legend. In 1953, a man named Edwin Blackwood had been accused of murdering 7 people in Willowbrook. All the victims were found in front of broken mirrors, their eyes torn out. Edwin was captured and executed, but before he died, he swore he would return to take revenge on the town that condemned him. His last wish? To be buried with a mirror. The more I discovered, the more terrified I became. The man in the mirror was not just an urban legend. What if I told you that in a small American town, a simple ritual in front of a mirror could summon an entity so terrifying that it makes people wish they'd never looked at their own reflection again? In today's episode, we'll tell the chilling story of Michael Harris, a young skeptic who recently arrived in a quiet town in the United States. He was the vengeful spirit of Edwin Blackwood, trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead. One night, while desperately fleeing from the figure that pursued me, I stumbled and fell into a nearby lake. The dark waters engulfed me, and for a moment, I thought it was all over. But then, something incredible happened. Beneath the surface of the water, I saw not my own reflection, but the tormented face of Edwin Blackwood. His eyes, once empty, now overflowed with pain and regret. In that moment, I understood Edwin was not a monster thirsting for revenge. He was a lost soul, trapped in an endless cycle of guilt and punishment. He didn't want to hurt me. He wanted to be freed. With a heavy heart, I emerged from the water and made a decision. I needed to end that cycle of terror, not just for myself, but for all of Willowbrook, and for Edwin himself. The following night, I returned to the lake with an old mirror I had found in the attic of the house where I was staying. At midnight, I positioned myself on the shore and called out to Edwin. The surface of the water began to stir, and slowly, the shadowy figure emerged. But this time, I felt no fear. I felt compassion. "Edwin," I spoke softly, "I know who you are. I know what happened. The year is 2023, but the events about to unfold seem straight out of a horror story from the past century. And I know you want this to end just as much as we do." The figure paused, its form wavering like smoke in the night breeze. "You don't have to carry this burden anymore," I continued, raising the mirror. "It's time to move on." With a scream that echoed through the night, Edwin's figure lunged toward the mirror. For a moment I saw his face clearly reflected, not as a monster, but as a tormented man finally finding peace. The mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces, and I felt a wave of energy surge through me. When I opened my eyes, the lake was calm, and the night was silent. In the days that followed, a palpable change swept through Willowbrook. People seemed lighter, as if an invisible weight had been lifted from their shoulders. Mirrors were no longer covered at night, and laughter once again echoed through the streets after dark. As for me, well, I learned a valuable lesson about respecting local stories and traditions. Not everything can be explained by logic, and sometimes the legends carry deeper truths than we can imagine. Now, whenever I look in a mirror, I no longer see the terror that once haunted me. I see only my reflection, and sometimes, if I pay close attention, I swear I can see a fleeting smile of gratitude in the eyes of a long-lost man, finally, at peace. The legend of the man in the mirror may have ended, but the scars it left on Willowbrook, and on me, will remain forever. A constant reminder that sometimes, to conquer our fears, we must face them head-on and offer understanding, even when all we want to do is run away. And you, dear listener, the next time you look in the mirror, pay attention, for you never know who or what might be looking back at you. Michael, in his youthful arrogance, decided to challenge an ancient urban legend known as the man in the mirror. Little did he know that this reckless decision would lead him on a journey of terror that would change his life forever. Get ready for a narrative that will make you question the reality you see reflected every day. The story of Michael Harris and his confrontation with the man in the mirror leads us to reflect on the nature of fear and redemption. What began as a reckless challenge transformed into a journey of self-discovery and compassion. The consequences of Michael's actions were profound, not just for him, but for the entire community of Willowbrook. By facing his fears and offering understanding to Edwin Blackwood, Michael not only freed a tormented spirit, but also liberated an entire town from decades of terror. The weight of the past was finally lifted, allowing Willowbrook to breathe once more. The drawn curtains opened, the once deserted streets at night came alive, and smiles returned to the faces of the residents. The change was so tangible that even the most ardent skeptics in town could not deny that something extraordinary had occurred. For Michael, the experience was transformative. The young skeptic who arrived in town, determined to debunk a local legend, left the experience with a new perspective on the world. He learned that there are more mysteries between heaven and earth than our vain philosophy dreams, and that sometimes compassion can be more powerful than skepticism. The legend of the man in the mirror may have come to a close, but its impact will endure. It serves as a reminder that our actions have consequences, sometimes reaching far beyond our lives. Edwin Blackwood, in his quest for vengeance, created a legacy of fear that persisted for generations. Michael, in turn, through an act of understanding and courage, forged a legacy of hope and renewal. And so, the story concludes, but the lessons remain. The mirrors of Willowbrook, once objects of terror, now reflect a transformed community. And in every reflection, perhaps there is a distant echo of gratitude, a silent reminder that even the most tormented souls can find peace. Dear viewers of Midnight Mysteries, the story we've just shared goes far beyond a simple ghost tale. It's a narrative that prompts us to question the nature of reality, forgiveness, and redemption. A story that will leave you afraid to be alone in a room with mirrors. And here's a warning. There's a big secret waiting for you at the end of this story. How many times in our lives do we encounter metaphorical mirrors, situations or people that reflect our own flaws and fears? And how often, instead of confronting them, do we choose to flee or ignore them? Michael Harris's journey teaches us that sometimes the true terror isn't in the supernatural, but in our refusal to confront our own shadows, and that often what we fear is merely a distorted reflection of something or someone that needs understanding and compassion. But what about you, dear nighttime viewers? Have you ever had an inexplicable experience in front of a mirror? Or do you know of any local urban legends that make you think twice before challenging them? Share your stories in the comments. After all, who knows? Maybe the next legend we investigate will be yours. And speaking of the next story, get ready. Our upcoming episode promises to be even more chilling. We will delve into the depths of an ancient forest, where the whispers of the trees carry secrets darker than anyone could imagine. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to pose a question to all of you. If you had the chance to look through a magical mirror and see your true self, would you have the courage to do it? Think carefully. Sometimes, the truth we see reflected can be scarier than any urban legend. And with that thought, we reach the end of another episode of Midnight Mysteries. Remember, not all reflections reveal reality, and not all shadows hide monsters. Sometimes, it takes looking beyond the obvious to find the truth. Until next time, my dear nighttime listeners. And don't forget, the next time you pass by a mirror, take a good look. You never know who, or what, might be looking back at you. Well, dear viewers of Midnight Mysteries, we've reached the end of another journey through the dark paths of the unknown. But before we say goodbye, I have a special request to make. A twist so shocking that it will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the world of mirrors. If this story about the man in the mirror sent chills down your spine, if it made you glance over your shoulder to check for anything strange in your reflection, then don't keep that chill to yourself. Share it. Hit that like button, as every like acts as a seal of approval for the entities of the shadows. And if you're not yet an official member of our nocturnal community, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell. After all, you don't want to be the last to know when the next mystery emerges from the darkness, do you? Know that every subscription, every like, every comment is like a beam of light in the darkness for us creators. They not only help us grow, but also guide us, showing which stories send shivers down your spine. And who knows? Maybe your comment will inspire our next big investigation into the unknown. Oh, and speaking of comments, don't forget to share your own supernatural experiences down below. Who knows, the next story we tell might be yours. After all, everyone has a dark tale hidden somewhere, right? I have to admit, you, Midnight Mysteries viewers, are truly special. Not everyone has the courage to face the unknown head-on, to dive into the depths of mystery with us week after week. You are the true shadow hunters, the explorers of the occult, and honestly, that's incredibly admirable. Or perhaps incredibly insane. But hey, who am I to judge, right? After all, I'm the one staying up late researching these macabre stories. Speaking of macabre tales, get ready for our next episode. We'll venture into an ancient forest where the branches of the trees seem to twist like bony fingers, and the whispers of the wind carry secrets from forgotten ages. Trust me, this story will make the man in the mirror seem like a fairy tale in comparison, so stay tuned.